This is a story about what happens when you commit to an idea that is greater than yourself, and yet, while ambitious, for some, this idea may seem impossible. Still, you know it is too significant to ignore. This is a story about you, about me, about Black, brown, and young people from under-resourced communities, about New York City, about our families and communities, about service, about justice. And most significantly, this is a story about what happens when we collectively make a decision to provide second chances and walk down an avenue named justice.
History takes me back 15 years. The Lower East Side in New York, as you all may know, was very poor in the 60s and 70s and part of the 80s. I used to work for the Boys Club of New York when I was going to school, and at the Boys Club I met Robert Siegel. He and I became friends. He was working out of my department. A kid one day asked me to go to court with him. I asked Robert to join us, and we stood in front of the rail of this arraignment at 100 Center Street. And the judge in sneakers and jeans, and the judge questioned who we were standing in front of their well. And the kid said to the lawyer, "That's my friend and my mentor and my tutor." So the judge called us up and said, "Why are you guys here?" And that led to a concept of our criminal justice system that was so different back in the 70s, 80s.
Bob was 28 going on 12. He was a kid. He had a joy and a joy of life and a joy of living. He liked to play basketball. He was going to NYU at the time, and he would bring neighborhood kids to shoot hoops at NYU or to have lunch.
What brought me to AFJ when I was 14, 15 years old, I met Bob Siegel, that he used to help my friends, get out of trouble and things like that. So he used to invite me, my friends used to invite me to go to NYU College to see him. And we used to go, and I felt like real interested in what Bob Siegel was doing, helping young people out.
He was just joyous. He was, I believe, if I have the story right, that he was adopted. And then he adopted everybody in the community. Before he died, he picked Angel smack out of the Boys Club to work with him, which was the best movie he ever made.
As we developed, Robert Siegel had befriended a police officer from the community, and Andrew Glover was the kind of cop that used to play basketball with the kids, and that kind of led to a relationship, which sadly in 1975 he was shot and killed around the corner from here. Robert and I named the program the Andrew Glover Youth Program after this particular officer, as we were incorporated in 1979.
And in 1992, I established Manhattan's Youth Park. And in part it was because I thought that programs like Andrew Glover, like Avenues for Justice, could do to add a significant aspect to the process of working with juvenile offenders that wasn't really functioning at its optimum.
AFJ was actually really key in even the creation of the youth part itself. The youth part is a section of like the adult criminal court, essentially, that's for adolescents. So prior to that, if you were 15 and over, you were just being treated like an adult in the system. Angel and Judge Michael Corriero, they were really instrumental in bringing about the youth part, which kind of set a precedent here in New York.
No one can appreciate how much Angel has done in the organization for 45 years. He has built tremendous credibility, and over the 45 plus years, which is not an easy thing to do. There's very few organizations that ever last that long or do what Glover has been able to do.
It's a place where relatively small amounts of money can make enormous differences in people's lives. And by changing those lives for the better, also have a positive impact on society as a whole.
Their dedication, their selflessness to the people they serve, and the kids that come through this organization, that's, it is not that secret of a secret sauce. It's just all the folks that work here show up every single day with the mission of making the kids and the people who are going through this organization better.
Angel is the spokesperson for juvenile justice reform and for alternative to incarceration program.
I relied heavily on the alternative to incarceration programs and Angel to help support and supplement the work that we were trying to do to give as many young people as we could a second chance.
It costs so much money to have somebody in prison, and it's not really molding them to do better. They just do their time and come back and do it again because, they're not getting the help that they really need.
To have an organization like this one that helps ones who make mistakes and then tumble into an unforgiving system, it's a blessing.
I get the fruit of my labor because I get so many, not only young people, even professionals who engage with us, and through that engagement realize how different we are, and yet very authentic to the mission of second chances and political service, not sales for these kids.
In the late 90s, the system started to change, and Avenues for Justice, then known as the Andrew Glover Youth Program, had more relationships and trust within the courts to take on these cases.
The fact that they connect with a young person so genuinely at the beginning of a relationship and continue that relationship for a period of 3 years. Any of us changes enormously over a 3-year period. Take a teenager, and oh my goodness, the changes in 3 years are phenomenal. So the fact that they are accompanying a young person, they see the potential of the human that they're working with, that they're engaged with, and they're looking out for all of the elements of what a person of that age needs and would allow a young person to thrive.
We live in the same communities as the participants that we serve. So we have 2 community centers in the Lower East Side, which is our flagship community center, and we have another community center in Harlem. Our team members live in those communities, so we understand the issues that are taking place and that the issues that our participants face daily.
We welcome the participants and their family members into our own family to really establish a strong community. And I also think the fact that this organization was born and raised in the Lower East Side, that speaks volumes to why it's as successful as it is. Because when you're giving back to the community through the community and have its roots right here, that's how we've been able to grow and really have the success that we've had. And I love being part of this community.
I think there's a lot that Avenues for Justice does well, and you can see how it's inspired other organizations to replicate the model.
What makes us stand out and what makes us different is that we really try to help as much as possible. For any kid that walks through the door, we don't just focus on their court case only. We try to help in any other area in their life.
I remember having interviewed one of the program participants, and it was a young man, maybe 16, 17. And I had my set of questions, and I was asking him about the program and what was special about it or what was meaningful. And in the course of our conversation, one of the things he said was how much he knew he had disappointed his mother. And the program engaged with him and the family, his mother included, and had sort of restored her hope in him.
The team that I work with, they take this passion because quite a couple of them have been through the same situation I've been through. So we take this each and every day as a mission to complete each and every day to try to help these youth. Not to go to the left, but stay to the right.
I think the thing that sort of sets AFJ apart and that makes it unique is how long they continue their commitment to the young people that they're working. What makes AFJ unique is that even after the mandate is done, even after the young person's fulfilled their time, they somehow maintain a relationship with that young person and are committed to ensuring their success, ensuring that they do well in school, ensuring that they sort of become successful young adults.
And when the world was hit with indescribable racial violence, the cry for justice echoed throughout the streets of New York City. All of us faced a battle of ethics after the murder of George Floyd, and a battle of a lifetime when the entire world stopped to navigate the COVID-19 pandemic. It is here that Avenues for Justice stay true to their mission and help their program participants navigate this unprecedented time.
What's important to know about AFJ is that we have been doing this work for 45 years. Our co-founder and president, Angel Rodriguez, started this organization in the 1970s. And so what really happened during the pandemic, given everything that was going on across our nation with the killing and the murder of George Floyd, is that it just catapulted ATI organizations such as Avenues for Justice to the forefront. But it wasn't that we pivoted our work or we started offering services that we had not previously offered. It was just the visibility of our organization in terms of the ATI work.
Avenues for Justice was impacted after the George Floyd incident, not only because of the incident itself, but also keep in mind we were in the grips of COVID at the time. And so how would we be able to address the feelings of our young people? Because if you remember correctly, there was a lot of writing at the time, a lot of people venting their voices. And we have our young people that wanted to vent their voice. How could they do it? Because if they went out, perhaps they could get rearrested, they have a case, and it would impact their case. So what we did is we devised a workshop called Youth Empowerment. This was conducted by and developed by a dean of schools, and he did a curriculum, thus being able to have our young people voice their opinions as far as what was going on in the world at that time. We were able to do this virtually, so they had their own virtual community that our young people were able to express. They appreciated it. And so we have continued that same workshop with different issues, continuing now in person at our various centers.
But more importantly, the magic at Avenues for Justice really happens at our two community centers. That's where our higher up workshops and activities take place. That's where we have our 65 volunteer facilitators who do workshops for digital and financial literacy, who do workshops that are centered around steps to success, workforce development, job readiness, employment. This is where we have tutors who are readily available to assist our participants with their academics so that they do well in school, and that so we can guarantee that not only do they do well from school, but they graduate from high school and they go on to college or higher education.
The importance of Avenues for Justice is undeniable. Between 2019 and 2024, 1,835 individual donors, foundations, corporate and government funders have supported AFJ. The impact and influence of Avenues for Justice continues. In the words of the late social justice warrior and Congressman John Lewis, a democracy cannot thrive where power remains unchecked and justice is reserved for a select few. Ignoring these cries and failing to respond to this movement is simply not an option, for peace cannot exist where justice is not served.
When thinking about what Avenues for Justice does to make it so successful, 2 bullet points come to mind. The first is that they take such a qualitative approach in that the team is not just looking at the data around the program participants, but seeing them and understanding the true potential that they have and the light that they bring that in some instances has been dimmed due to small mistakes or otherwise. And I think what's been so beautiful about getting to know the team and participating in events like attending the Guggenheim is that you really see the humanity that Avenues for Justice brings to this work. It's not just a job where the team is clocking in and clocking out. It's truly a decision that everyone has made in that they want to make a difference and have an impact in the lives of everyone who's involved in the program.
$6,300 per year to put a young person through Avenues for Justice, and that what that means is that they receive free court advocacy and wraparound services through our Higher Up program, in comparison to $500,000 that it costs to incarcerate a young person at Rikers Island.
When you actually think about the influence of the resources we're providing, giving them mentors, guidance, counseling, tutors, it has such a larger impact on really being able to turn their lives around and make them productive members of society.
You could be a social liberal or a fiscal conservative, and you should be supporting Avenues for Justice. Like, this is an organization that everybody should be able to get behind.
In many instances, especially in the criminal justice space, there are limitations around how you think about program structure and how long participants can engage. Avenues for Justice has taken the approach that there is not a one-size-fits-all for everyone, and instead really creates a plan and a program for each individual participant. And I think that is something that the participants enjoy, in that it likely allows them to feel seen.
The work that Avenues for Justice does is really challenging work. It's helping young people who so often are left out of opportunity, including from opportunity. Young people who were involved in the criminal legal system, young people who often had challenges, really help them get on their feet. And in doing that work, the outcomes are just extraordinary.
Every time a kid breaks through from where they were when they got here, I just feel liberated for them. You know, I feel like it really is basically a breakthrough, and that their life is going to be better from here on in.
You know, I have to be tough with them because growing up in a community that was tough with me, and it was challenging, I have to be tough with them. I share my history with them and explain how I changed. I explain to them that they're sitting on the opposite side of me, but they could be sitting with me one point or another, like Elsie Flores, that was one of my clients, and she now works with us, and she's successful.
Positive moments that I had is watching my kids grow, watching them succeed and believe in themselves and help them build the confidence they need to move forward.
They come here because it feels safe for them. Not only feel safe, but we're giving them better alternative to what they doing outside. So they come and they learning about the law. They learning how to cook. They learning how to dress. We have so many different programs here that they want to come here.
So I was arrested at 17. I was referred here, and my first day here, it was awesome. And I got more hands-on with like what to do when you're angry, how to react to different things, how to be calm, and just set yourself straight. And right now I'm on my way into getting my OSHA certificate.
So Robin Hood measured impact by looking at AFJ's ability to keep young people from going back to jail, right? Recidivism. And when you start looking at the recidivism rate, it's extraordinarily low. But when you started talking to AFG about, well, what's the model? How are you doing it that's different than everybody else? Other people would go to and say, hey, it's 8 weeks of this, and it's this intensity, and it's, this is a special sauce. And with AFJ, it took me a while to realize, and I think it took them a little while to figure out how to articulate that it really was the building of relationships, the bonding that happens between the court advocates and the staff at AFJ and the young people that are coming through. I think a large part of it has to do with the young people coming through AFJ see themselves in the staff at Avenues for Justice. And so there's an authenticity there.
AFJ is known for second chances, helping young people with their court mandate, being able to have it reduced or even dismissed. And so that's one of the things that we are very happy about. However, in the last 5 years, we've really been focusing on giving our young people opportunities to be successful beyond their mandate, whether that be certificates, whether that be getting job readiness, education, and the like. These are all things that you can see on our website, but that personal attention that we give, that's something that goes a little unnoticed. We're a very small staff, but yet we identify what these young people need, and then we also help the families.
We try to get kids back in school, get them employed, to just mainstream. They don't have to be CEOs, but they become law-abiding, they become responsible, they understand their ground, and I always put into their minds that I helped you once, help somebody else one time. And I've had some young people coming back to remind me of that and say, Angel, I did hear you and I did this. And that makes me proud to see a kid kind of going out of his way for another individual.
Creating a more equitable future was never just about one organization. The active pursuit of justice has always been about all of us. And yet, we must take a full moment to say thank you to the co-founder of the organization, the heartbeat of the mission, and the leader who has lived out his namesake in every interaction, not for himself, but for co-founder Robert Siegel and police officer Andrew Glover, Avenues for Justice, his community, and most importantly, for the program participants, because there is no avenue named justice without a man that all of us love, Angel Rodriguez.
Yeah, one of the wonderful things about the program is that it stands for the idea that every child has value, that no matter where you come from, or what your parentage is, or where you live, what community, you have an opportunity to succeed. And Angel, I think, believes in this idea that second chances permits young people to participate fully in the American dream.
What can you give a guy who's taken and saved 60, 70, 80, 90, 300 people from incarceration? A thank you, plaque. Give him a statue in Central Park, maybe, or down the Lower East Side. Angel was one of the first organizations. Angel's vision for our alternative was the first. AFJ was one of the first.
Thousands of young people that have gone through this program, the thousands of families and their siblings that have benefited from a lot of what we do. This is why I put this project in place, and I'm happy today to see that 50 years later, it continues impacting and it continues on its mission.
Avenues for Justice Legacy is making a real difference in New York City and in young people's lives.
Angel Rodriguez is clearly the father of this organization. I think that you will find that many, many clients throughout the years see him as a father figure. They see him as somebody who has helped them navigate their own life changes. And he has trained many of the staff in how they provide services. We would not be where we are today without him.
In 45 years, it has grown so much, to the point that now we're working not with just Lower East Side, East Harlem, we're dealing with the 5 boroughs. And that's an amazing success. And I'm glad I'm part of it because I grew up with it from the beginning until 35 years later.
Avenues for Justice continues to grow. We've been through depression, so to speak, as far as the city is concerned, as far as economics. We've been through a pandemic, but yet Avenues for Justice continues to grow and get bigger and bigger because the need is seen here. And so thus I hope and continue to hope that we continue on for another 45 years and back.
I would say I have two main hopes for the organization in the future. The first being that we continue this incredible track record of success and are able to scale this program to more individuals who are deserving. It would be incredibly exciting if this became the way of criminal justice reform. Secondly, I would say I'm looking forward to Liz's leadership. I have been more than impressed with her approach, not only with the board, but with all the partners and again, ultimately the participants. I believe that she is incredibly well suited to lead us into the future, and I look forward to being a part of her vision for how we will get to that next stage.
I'm looking forward to seeing Liz Frederick take over as the new executive director because she has a great combination of skills that AFJ needs, and she also has a depth of knowledge of the organization that can help us in the future.
As she was head of operations and figuring out how to support the organization as it implemented its plan, and we developed a wonderful relationship. And I remember thinking what a remarkable individual she was and what a special relationship she's had with Angel. And then when I learned the news a few months ago that she had been appointed the new executive director, my heart sank, because I cannot think of a better person to follow a really remarkable human.
My vision for Avenues for Justice is to cement Angel Rodriguez's legacy in that he's been doing this for 50 years.
We had some of the toughest judges in our system, and many of those judges welcomed us into a system that I believe I was probably one of the first alternative to incarceration programs privately that appeared in the system. And judges kind of bid to that because they saw me every day. They saw me in front of these judges with reports about these kids, good or bad. That gave us integrity. And more judges called for us. The DS office kind of has gone along with us, which hasn't been easy, and it's never easy. It's been 50 years and we're still struggling with trying to convince prosecutors that jail doesn't work. And we believe in service post jails. And we believe that young people should have the opportunities to make up for some of the mistakes that they make.
As we celebrate 45 years, we do so by saying thank you to our founders and to our former and present staff, board members, supporters, and most importantly, program participants who remain the best business case for Avenues for Justice's existence. The work of AFJ is not done. The gift of second chances will continue on well beyond all of us because justice is our birthright. Movements evolve. Transformative work demands innovation. Change is natural. Leaders entrust their legacies. Because when we make a decision to collectively grant second chances, we are united by this truth that everyone is deserving of a life of endless possibilities. Over 45 years ago, two men, Robert, fondly known as Bob, and Angel, understood this human right, and we have benefited from their sacrifice and vision. The story of Avenues for Justice continues with all of us.